Hello and welcome back. This is DruVision IT Consulting. It is October 2023. Today's episode, we're going to do something just slightly a little bit different than usual. This is part of our IT Seller series. And today we're going to be reacting to and adding additional commentary to a documentary by the U.S. Department of Labor. It was filmed, I want to say, around 2007-ish, and it was about disabled people in the workplace. There was 8 total people, one of which I was, and there was 2 total IBMers, the company I was working for at the time. One of which was a Russian engineer who's completely totally deaf. He spoke perfect English, albeit with a Russian accent, and he was born deaf. So, fascinating story. He had numerous patents in the areas of voice recognition, etc. Um, we'll just be focused on the portion of the film that I'm in. A quick note is this is a very old recording. It's been on YouTube and it's not the highest quality. So I hope you are able to hear it and understand it. And most of all, I hope that we all collectively learn something today, right? The simple answer is, can you be disabled in IT sales? The obvious answer is yes. I've been doing it for 23 plus years. And I really put this video out there not just to encourage folks with disabilities to pursue a career in IT sales or any career at all, but also for those parents who've just recently discovered that their children have a particular disability. It is not the end of the world to learn that your child is going to have some challenges that other people don't face. The short, honest truth is everybody is facing some type of issue or another, whether it's a broken home, cancer, other types of disabilities. So, with that said, let's dive right into it.
Dollars to
Get that
$36 million.
Wow.
I've exceeded the expectations.
This is actually
in
Juan
every
Williams
position that I've been.
narrating.
Andrew
If you know
Bryan
him from
experienced a severe
Fox in his
decrease in
days
his
before
vision
that,
while employed as a traveling salesman with IBM. For many people who become disabled while working, the results can range from a
We're in
change
New
in
York City.
position
This is where
to
all of
being
this is
fine.
being filmed.
Nobody's going to feed my wife,
A
my
lovely son,
child.
Matthew.
So I've got to do that. And to not have work will destroy everything. In the end, when I approached IBM about it, I said, look, I can't continue to drive. But for IBM, Andrew's talents far exceeded his disability, and they knew he was too valuable to lose.
So this was a big point. The Department of Labor was trying to make was that it's really not that much in the way of accommodations to have disabled people in the workplace, right? Especially now, right? With Uber being so pervasive in so many cities, you don't even have to take a cab anymore. It's super easy. It's usually about half the price of a taxi to be able to take an Uber. Depending on if you feel safe taking it. I've always been able to take it, not a big deal at all. Um, Certainly in a place like New York City with the unions and everything else, it's a little bit more tricky sometimes. But I'm a huge Uber fan. In terms of other accommodations, I don't rent cars, right? I don't drive. Um, let's see what other. So Ubers, uh, a larger laptop. Like I've always preferred a 15-inch screen versus a real small one. I do have to get really close sometimes, depending on how small the fonts are, etc. But in terms of accommodations, at least for me specifically, a few extra bucks a year, like the video says, and that hasn't even changed since the time this video was shot.
Cost of employing Andrew Bryan, a couple extra cab rides here and there, a few extra dollars in cabs.
No, the cab fare relative was, millions of dollars he's generating for
Never
IBM.
met this lady ever. I have no idea who she is.
It's really a non-issue.
As he began to lose his eyesight, Andrew feared being marginalized in the workplace. But his fears were eased by IBM's belief in his abilities.
Marginalized in the workplace. I remember the first time I ever used my white cane at the office. I was scared to death. It was going to freak people out. But in general, I'll say it was kind of a non-issue for most of my coworkers, right? A couple of people had questions, They asked, hey, why do you use that, or what's that all about? But honestly, it was using the white cane was such a blessing because it explains a lot, right? When you just turn a corner and walk into somebody without the white cane, it's a little bit harder to kind of explain away. But yeah, I was very nervous to be able to use the white cane at the office back then. Um, I will say this for in later times after this video was shot, when I was applying for various jobs, I get very far in the interview process. There were literally a few times where I would watch the recruiter or the hiring manager rather um, have a puzzled look. We did the interview and then I didn't proceed further in the process. Is it because I was disabled? I don't know. Part of me, the insecurities and everything, part of me, I think, was afraid that maybe that was the case. But no, I mean, it's kind of a non-issue. So
Andrews also addressed one of corporate America's greatest fears: how customers and coworkers
Jonathan
interact
Levine
with
from
people with
Linkshare, the guy was
disabilities.
awesome. He's got
Many
books on
times
Java.
establish a phone
Linkshare was
relationship
bought
with
by
customers, and then I show up one day.
Rakuten
I had no idea
a
you
few
couldn't
years
hear or
after
see
this.
anything. There's no relationship between Andrew's ability or as a salesman, his ability to see or his ability to hear. He's perfectly competent salesperson. It's great that he has been able to work for a company that is as flexible as IBM. I would feel more comfortable knowing that a company valued its
This is a
people
really
enough
good
to
point
make
that he makes here.
accommodations for them. A large proportion of the public have been served by people with disabilities. And I think what's important is that they rate that service as very high. They are truly
I don't know who this
satisfied
guy is
with the
yet. No idea.
services they receive from people with disabilities. So it's not that people with disabilities shouldn't be in a sort of meet the people position. In fact, the opposite.
That's it for the clip. Just a couple closing comments. In the years since then, right? Obviously, if you watched our video, how I sold $2.5 billion in IT sales, you'll see on those slides in there summing up the career. This would all of this to this point really would have been on the first slide, and then the subsequent 13 years, 14 years was really my journey in services sales. Uh, I traveled. I worked from home. I had numerous different positions, and honestly, I feel like the world's just gotten better and better. It's gotten easier to get around, to be accommodated. There are times where it's hard, right? I flew out of two of the busiest airports in the world almost every week during COVID, right? Going up to my customer in Chicago. Um, DFW and O'Hare, right? It's a lot of people. And it can be frustrating at times, right? Being disabled at work doesn't mean everything's going to be peaches and cream. Sometimes you're going to have just some patience. And, whether it's figuring out the buttons on an elevator, which can be tricky, really maddening sometimes, or you're just navigating a very, very crowded airport, not tripping on people's rollerboards, etc. But, it really hasn't been all that hard. I don't know that I'm exceptional in being able to travel with extreme low vision, right? Um, and I will say this, the skills you develop being able to problem solve as a traveler are so transferable into other areas of your day-to-day job, whether it's making better slides, better problem decomposition when you're faced with challenges that the client has and you're trying to figure out how to solve those. There's a lot of great gifts that can come out of this. So with that said, if you like this first reaction video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Till soon.